Week 16, or matchup 16, I guess you would say, is officially done. We're through. I know it's Saturday already. The next matchup is well on its way, but let's talk about last week for a little bit. Jack, you played Max. You won. It was 596.5 to 521. Jack, you had a 275 average. Hit 13 home runs with 3 home runs allowed for a 4.3 triple R. That might be one of the highest we've seen this year, which is a good reason why you won. Jack, Max had a 290 average, only 8 home runs, and 7 home runs allowed for a 1.14 triple R. Not the best. Jack, your best player, not surprising to anyone, is that guy from LA, or Anaheim. I guess they're the LA Angels now. Mike Trout. A 368 average. He hit 3 of your home runs. Drew 11 walks for 98 points. Your worst player, you didn't really have anyone that did terrible, but you did have 4 players that hit at or under 200 for last week, being Bellinger, Didi, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Nelson Cruz. All hit at or below 200 for their average. Not the best, but it didn't really matter. You still won, Jack. Congratulations. Max, your best player was DeGrom, who gets absolutely no help from his team, New York Mets. He threw 15 innings, allowed 13 hits, 0 home runs while striking out 15, 108 points, very good starts. That's 2 starts for 108 points. He has no wins. I think he has like a 1.8 ERA, and it has, I can't remember what the stat was, but the Mets are totally fucking him, giving him absolutely no run support whatsoever. It's ridiculous. DeGrom, you're a great pitcher. You deserve better. Your worst player, Max, I'm sure you knew who it is, but I'm going to tell everyone else. Kingham, a pitcher, 3 innings, gave up 7 hits, 2 home runs, negative 30 points. Negative 30 points. That's brutal. Brutal. Next matchup we're going to talk about is Brian versus Maggie. Brian, you came out on top, 581.5 to Maggie's 357. Unfortunately, Maggie, that does give you the silver shitter for last week. You scored the least amount of points of anyone. Brian, you had a 221 average, so not great when you look at it that way, but you hit 19 home runs, so your hits were important. Your hits were big, and you only gave up 6 for a 3.16 triple R. Your best player was Rhys Hoskins for Philadelphia. Hit for a 345 average with 5 home runs and 4 walks for 91.5 points. Your worst player was Castellanos for Detroit. I wanted this guy for a long time. Dual position eligibility. But he hit for a .087 average. Hit 1 double, 1 triple. Those were his only 2 hits last week for 2.5 points. Maggie had a 233 average, 7 home runs allowed for a 1 triple R. Your best player was Michael Conforto for the Mets. Those Mets I was just talking such shit about. Had a 347 average with 2 home runs and 3 walks for 55 points. So when your best player is only scoring 55, you know you had not a good week. Maggie, you're also running into some problems with players hitting that 10-day DL. It's a beast. That 10-day DL is brutal. It's taking down some big players, which we'll get to in a second. I'm not going to talk about myself, about what happened last week. I'm going to let Jamie do that for me. So here is our current champion, Jamie Olander, who's going to do the dish between him and I. So take it away, James.
But I am adding a video to this due to losing a bet to Kyle. Last week, it was a miserable week for Kyle and I. To start it off, let's get on with this bet though, as Kyle has requested me to eat this delicious treat while I sit here and critique our terrible week. So, I'm just going to start off with a handful and we'll just talk about how terrible our week was. Spicy peanuts, the heat challenge. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. So, to start off, for Kyle and my week, Kyle, you obviously won. We were the lowest scoring game last week out of any twosome. So, Kyle won 468.5 to 455. His best player was Clayton Kershaw, 57.5 points, and 7.2 innings pitched, 8 Ks. And then I did want to give him a little runner-up on that was Eduardo Escobar, who is now playing for the Arizona Diamondbacks, 55.5 points as well. So honorable mention for him. I, on the other hand, had Garrett Cole, 52 points, was my best player with 6.1 innings pitched, 5 hit, 9 Ks, 0 home runs allowed. My worst player, which I will hold to this bet, is the reason I'm eating this shit, is because Luis Severino, over 2 starts, had 9.1 innings pitched, 19 hits, and 3 home runs for a whopping 5 points. So, had Severino had one, all I needed was one good start, I would have probably beat Kyle. Kyle's worst player, he didn't really have a bad player overall for the week. His worst was a relief pitcher, Rodon, which had -3 points over the week. I will say, probably his worst loss last week was Jose Altuve going to the DL midweek last week. So that was his probably his worst loss last week. Spicy. Kyle's triple R rating was 1.4. He hit 7 home runs, 5 home runs given up. So Kyle, you're lucky because we all know you have to have at least a minimum 2 or you're for sure going to lose. Mine, on the other hand, was an even 2 with 8 home runs hit, 4 given up. Thank you, Severino, for 3 of those. So, overall, I do want to give a shout out to everyone else who outplayed both of us. But had I not mismanaged the week, or Severino had one decent pitch, I would have been all right. I apologize if this video is crappy. It's actually a little spicy. So, that is our recap for the week. And to finish it off, Kyle actually wanted me to sit here for 5 minutes and eat these nuts. So I have a minute left. I will say off of last video, Kyle, that's a bullshit call. I said, do you want Chris Sale or Garrett Cole? You do not respond to my text. Instead, you just put in trades for Jose Altuve as Chris Sale and Luis Severino. Because had I known you wanted Sale, I probably would have asked a little bit more. But they're both on the DL, so fuck both of us. Either way, And Joey, thank you for finally paying up your bet. Only took you like 3 weeks. So, but you are the bottom bitch, so not much is expected of you. Max, I don't know how you keep eating all this crazy food, but good job on that. Brian and Taylor, I do want to give a shout out to both of you guys for doing a job well done on coming back. Maggie finally figured it out, dropped Dylan Bundy. Maybe she'll start winning again because she has the best offense in the league. So that's my comments on the week. On the league, I'm playing Jackson this week. He didn't give me a bet because he never bets me anything. So to sign off, I'm going to have to do an ice. So cheers.
That was illuminating. Jamie, thank you so much for such a great and fact-filled, I guess not a commish dish because you're not a commish, but it was a good dish. Some good facts. I did want Sale. I'm glad I didn't get him, but both of the players we were trying to trade are on the DL now. I think Sale's only going to miss one start, but Altuve was slated to come back tomorrow. Now they're not so sure. His knee still hurts. I don't know, some bullshit. But these things are no joke, James. You did a good job. You were trying to act like it wasn't a big deal, but I could see the pain in your eyes. I could see the truth, James. Because smelling them, they do smell just like peanuts. Like they don't smell hot. They don't have that spicy, I'm going to kick your ass smell that ghost pepper normally has. But I tried them before when I first got them just to see what Jamie was in for. They're no joke. Like 1 or 2 is doable, but eating them quickly or a lot at one time would not be fun. So Jamie, good job with that, and good job with the ice. Way to fulfill your bet. And then the final matchup we're going to talk about is Taylor versus Joby. Brian, you were one of those guys fighting for a playoff spot. Taylor is one of those guys as well who's trying to work his way up. Taylor, you had a 2-9. Oh, you were playing Joby, Taylor. It was 537.5 to 643.5. Joby, you won the Silver Slugger for last week. Congratulations there. Taylor, you had a 290 average, 6 home runs, 5 home runs allowed for a 1.2 triple R. Not terrible. Joby, you had a 260 average, so worse than Taylor's, but 14 home runs hit, 8 home runs allowed for a 1.75 triple R. I guess normally whoever has the higher triple R wins the matchup. So when Jamie brought that up, that mine was lower than his, that was quite surprising. Because normally that doesn't happen. Normally that triple R is the leading factor as to who wins. Like Brian, you had a higher triple R than Maggie. You won. Jack, you had a higher triple R than Max. You won. Joby, you have a higher triple R than Taylor. You won. So 3 out of 4 matches were determined by that stat. So I don't know quite. I think there's something to it. I'm going to go back because I have all the notes and see how many of those triple R's were higher in the winning matchup just to see kind of what the true statistic is. But Taylor, your best player was Yelich. 2 home runs hit, 3 doubles, 63.5 points. So again, for like your best player, 63.5 isn't huge. You want to be above like 70, 80, 90 points for your best player. I was trying to figure out who your worst player was, and I couldn't really find them. They were all just kind of sort of shitty. So I don't know quite what to say about that. Your team just didn't produce whatsoever. Joby, your best player was, I don't know if you know how to pronounce his first name, Julius Chassin. 12.2 innings pitched, gave up 15 hits, 2 home runs, 15 strikeouts for 80.5 points. Your worst player was Verlander, surprisingly. 5 innings pitched, 9 hits, 2 home runs, 7 strikeouts, got you 1 point. Now, that's all I got for today, but I'm playing Max. He's currently kicking my ass. Jamie, you're playing Jack. Maggie, you're playing Joby. And Brian, you're playing Taylor. So that's an important matchup that Brian-Taylor won because they're both fighting for playoff spots. I think Maggie's now kind of iffy for a playoff spot too. But keep it going. We're pretty close to the end. The playoffs are coming up within the next few weeks. So get your shit together. Get your teams locked down because you need them. We're coming down to the stretch, down to the wire, where it's win or go home. So, that's all I got. Commish Dish, out.